The lock clicked into place with a finality that made my empty stomach clench. Through the kitchen door's frosted glass, I could see the shadows of my family moving around, preparing dinner. The smell of roasted chicken drifted through the gaps, making my mouth water painfully. "No year for LIARS," my mother called out, loud enough for me to hear from the hallway where I stood. "Maybe tomorrow you'll remember to tell the truth." My crime? I told my teacher that I'd been too dizzy to complete my homework. Mrs. Patterson had asked if I'd eaten breakfast, and I'd accidentally let slip that I hadn't had a proper meal in 2 days. When the school called home to check on me, my mother had been furious. "We feed our daughter perfectly well," she told them coldly. "She's going through a phase where she lies for attention. We're handling it with appropriate discipline." Now, standing outside the locked kitchen, I pressed my hand against my hollow stomach. This was day 3 without a real meal. I'd managed to sneak a granola bar for my friend's lunch yesterday, but that was all. "Eleanor's eating with us tonight," I heard my father tell my younger sister through the door. "Since Jade can't seem to appreciate family dinner, she doesn't get to participate." Eleanor, my 13-year-old sister, said something I couldn't hear. Then Dad's voice, louder. "She'll eat when she learns respect. A little hunger builds character." I was 17 years old and weighed 89 pounds. This discipline had started 6 months ago when I questioned why Eleanor got new clothes for school while I had to wear the same threadbare uniforms from 2 years ago. "Ungrateful children don't deserve new things," Mother had said. "You'll get new clothes when you learn gratitude." The hunger punishments began small: no dessert, no seconds, smaller portions. But as I continued to ask questions they didn't like, express opinions they disagreed with, or show any sign of independence, the punishments escalated. Now, entire meals were withheld, sometimes days of them. "You can have water," Mother had explained during the first long punishment. "And once you apologize sincerely for your behavior, we'll discuss food." The problem was, the definition of sincere kept changing. I'd apologize for whatever transgression they'd identified, but it was never enough. "You're just saying what you think we want to hear," Dad would say. "When you truly understand your wrongdoing, we'll know." I retreated to my room, lightheaded from standing too long. My desk was covered with homework I could barely focus on. How do you concentrate on calculus when your body is eating itself? How do you write essays when your brain is foggy from malnutrition? My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend AITA. "You okay? You looked really pale today." I wanted to tell her the truth, but what would I say? My parents locked the kitchen. They were starving me. It sounded insane even to me, and I was living it. "Just tired," I typed back. "See you tomorrow." Tomorrow, I had to make it to tomorrow. That night, I lay in bed listening to my stomach growl. Through the thin walls, I could hear my family watching TV, laughing at some sitcom. Normal family evening. Except one member was slowly wasting away in her room. I tried keeping food in my room, but Mother did regular searches. "Hoarding food is a sign of an eating disorder," she'd said when she found my hidden crackers. "We're doing this for your own good, Jade, to break these unhealthy patterns." The irony wasn't lost on me. They were creating an eating disorder while claiming to prevent one. At 3 a.m., desperate, I crept downstairs. Maybe I could find something, anything. But the kitchen door was still locked, and they'd started locking the pantry too. Even a fruit bowl that used to sit on the dining table had been moved inside the kitchen. I drank water from the bathroom tap until my stomach hurt, hoping it would stop the hunger pangs. It didn't. The next morning, getting dressed for school was a challenge. My uniform hung off me like I was playing dress-up in someone else's clothes. I cinched the skirt as tight as it would go, but it still slipped down my protruding hip bones. "Breakfast is for family members who contribute positively to the household," Mother announced as I passed the kitchen. Through the doorway, I could see Eleanor eating pancakes. My stomach cramped violently. At school, I moved carefully, conserving energy. In PE class, I sat out, claiming cramps. During lunch, I sat with Aisha and tried not to stare at her sandwich. "Jade, seriously, what's wrong?" she asked. "You look sick." "I'm fine," I lied, the words automatic now. My parents had trained me well. Family business stayed in the family. In biology class, the room started spinning. I gripped my desk, willing myself not to faint. We were studying the digestive system, of all things. Mr. Rodriguez was explaining how the body breaks down muscle tissue when it doesn't have enough fuel. The human body is remarkably adaptable, he said. In cases of severe caloric restriction, it will cannibalize its own tissue to survive. First fat stores, then muscle, eventually even organ tissue. I wondered which stage I was in. The darkness came suddenly. One moment I was taking notes. The next I was falling, my body finally giving up its fight to function on nothing. I heard chairs scraping, voices shouting, felt hands trying to catch me as I went down. When I came to, I was in the nurse's office. Mrs. Chin, our school nurse, was leaning over me with a blood pressure cuff and a deeply concerned expression. "Jade, honey, when did you last eat?" I tried to calculate. The granola bar was 2 days ago. Before that, when had I last had an actual meal? The days blurred together in a haze of hunger. I'm not sure, I admitted. She helped me sit up slowly, then gestured to the scale in the corner. "I need to check your weight." I stood on the scale, swaying slightly. The digital numbers flashed. 84 pounds. I'd lost 5 pounds since last week. Mrs. Chen's face went white. "Jade, I need to call for an ambulance. Now." "No, please," I begged. "My parents will be so angry." "I'm fine. I just." "Honey, you're not fine. You're severely malnourished. Your blood pressure is dangerously low. This is a medical emergency." She was already dialing. Within minutes, I heard sirens. As the paramedics loaded me onto a stretcher, I saw my classmates watching through windows, their faces shocked. My secret was out. At the hospital, everything moved quickly. IV lines were inserted, blood was drawn, monitors were attached. A doctor with kind eyes and careful hands examined me while a nurse documented everything. "How long have you been restricting food?" Dr. Kumar asked gently. "I'm not," I said automatically. I don't have an eating disorder. "My parents," I stopped, the conditioning still strong. "Your parents what, Jade?" Something in her voice, professional but compassionate, broke through my walls. "They lock the kitchen," I whispered. "When I'm bad. When I lie or disrespect them. No dinner for liars, that's the rule." Dr. Kumar's expression didn't change, but I saw her exchange glances with the nurse. "How often does this happen?" "More now. This time it's been 4 days, I think. Maybe 5. I lose track." "And your parents are the ones withholding food?" I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "Dad says I need discipline. Mom says I'll eat when I learn respect. But I never learn it right. It's never enough." Dr. Kumar squeezed my hand gently. "Jade, what's happening to you is not discipline. It's abuse. I need to make some calls." The next hours were a blur of tests and questions. A social worker arrived, then police officers. My parents were called to the hospital. I could hear my mother's voice in the hallway, shrill with indignation. "This is ridiculous. Our daughter has an eating disorder. We've been trying to help her." But the blood tests told a different story. Severe malnutrition, vitamin deficiencies, muscle wasting, organs beginning to show stress. The clinical nutritionist who reviewed my case was blunt in her assessment. "This isn't anorexia or voluntary restriction," she told the team. "The pattern of deprivation, the specific deficiencies, this is consistent with involuntary starvation. In my professional opinion, continuing this would have resulted in organ failure within weeks. This is attempted murder through neglect." When my parents were finally allowed in my room, they came with their lawyer. My mother's perfect composure was cracking, my father's authority challenged by the medical professionals who wouldn't defer to his demands. "She's a troubled teen," my mother insisted. "She lies constantly. Hoards food. We were trying to break these patterns." "By starving her?" Dr. Kumar's voice was ice. "Your daughter weighs 84 pounds. Her body is catabolizing its own muscle tissue. Her heart rhythm is irregular from electrolyte imbalance. This is what we see in concentration camp survivors, not troubled teens." "You don't understand," my father started. "Jade is manipulative. She's probably been making herself sick for attention." That's when Eleanor spoke up. My little sister, who'd been brought by a social worker, looked smaller than her 13 years. "They lock the kitchen," she said quietly. "I hear Jade crying from hunger at night. Mom makes me eat in front of her sometimes, says it's to teach her consequences." The room fell silent. My parents turned to stare at Eleanor in betrayal. "I didn't want Jade to die," Eleanor continued, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I tried to sneak her food, but Mom caught me and said I'd be next if I didn't stop enabling her." The lawyer whispered urgently to my parents. The police officers stepped forward. The social worker moved Eleanor closer to me, away from our parents. Mr. and Mrs. Wright, the lead officer said, "We're placing you under arrest for child endangerment and abuse." My mother's mask finally shattered completely. She deserved it. She screamed as they handcuffed her. "Ungrateful, lying little bitch." We gave her everything. "Except food," I whispered, but I don't think anyone heard me. The next days were a blur of recovery and investigation. Detectives found the locks on the kitchen, the food diary my mother kept documenting when I was allowed to eat, even a punishment chart showing days of dietary restriction for various infractions. Eleanor was placed with our aunt while the investigation continued. She visited me daily, bringing homework and apologies. "I should have told someone," she said. "I was scared they'd do it to me too." "You're 13, I reminded her. "This wasn't your responsibility." Physical recovery was slow. Refeeding syndrome was a risk. My body had adapted to starvation and could actually be harmed by too much food too quickly. The nutritionist created a careful plan to gradually increase calories while monitoring my organs' response. "Your body is resilient," she told me. "But there may be lasting effects: bone density loss, potential heart damage. You'll need monitoring for years." The psychological recovery was harder. I'd been conditioned to feel guilty for eating, to associate hunger with punishment, to believe I deserved starvation. The hospital therapist worked with me daily. "They convinced you that basic human needs were privileges to be earned," she explained. "We need to rebuild your relationship with food, with your own body's signals." 3 weeks into my hospital stay, I testified via video link for my parents' preliminary hearing. I described the escalating punishments, the days without food, the locked kitchen. The judge's face grew stonier with each detail. My parents' lawyer argued it was discipline taken too far, that they never intended harm. But the medical evidence was overwhelming. Photos of my emaciated body, brain scans showing changes consistent with starvation, the nutritionist's testimony that I'd been weeks from death. They were convicted on multiple counts of child abuse and attempted murder. My mother got 15 years, my father 12. The difference? The food diary in my mother's handwriting, showing she was the primary architect of the starvation plan. At sentencing, they were allowed to make statements. My father spoke about disappointment and ingratitude. My mother cried about how hard it was to raise a difficult child. Neither apologized. Neither acknowledged that they'd nearly killed me. I'm 19 now, living with my aunt along with Eleanor. I'm at a healthy weight, though I still see a nutritionist regularly. Some days are harder than others. Sometimes I still feel guilty for eating a full meal, still hear my mother's voice saying I don't deserve it. But I'm learning that food is fuel, not a reward. That hunger is a signal, not a punishment. That I deserve to take up space in the world, to nourish my body, to exist without earning the right to eat. Eleanor and I cook together now. She's teaching me recipes she learned from YouTube while I was locked out of the kitchen. We don't lock any doors in our aunt's house. The pantry is always open. There's always fruit on the counter. "Remember when Mom said hunger builds character?" Eleanor asked one day while we made pasta. "Yeah," I said, adding extra cheese to my bowl just because I could. "I think she was wrong," Eleanor said. "Surviving her built character. The hunger just built trauma." She was right. I survived systematic starvation disguised as discipline. I lived through attempted murder disguised as parenting. And now, every meal I eat is a small act of rebellion against the people who tried to erase me one locked kitchen at a time. The nutritionist was right too. It was attempted murder. They just used hunger as their weapon instead of something more obvious. But the body keeps score, and mine told the truth they tried to starve into silence. I eat now. 3 meals a day, snacks when I'm hungry. It's revolutionary. It's recovery. It's resistance. And it's mine.